Hello everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I'm going to continue with your same module, that is object oriented programming, and the new chapter, that is chapter number 6, constructor and destructors. But before this, let's take a quick review what we have covered in the last class. That is what we have covered in the last, that is the Friday's class. So in the last class we have finished with chapter number 5, and this is too much lengthy chapter. In this, all the basic concepts like what is a class, objects, how to create the class, how to create the objects are covered in this chapter. So let's continue with the previous class session, or let's take a quick review what we have covered in the last class. Basically in the last class we have covered about the class, what is the class, what is the structure of class, what is the member function, what is the data members, how to access the member functions. Now in the last class we have discussed some of the topics. So let's start with the last class topics. In the last class, first of all, we have discussed that an array of objects, that is like we have created one object, in the same way we were also able to create the array of objects, that is more than one object, or more than one object at the same time. That is an array of objects, that is a collection of homogeneous data type. Then that means we can create the array of any data type including the struct, or including the struct variable. Similarly, we have another data type, we have also have an array of variables that are of type class. So we have also the array of variable that are the type class, that is used for typing the data, that is used for including the data. Such variables are known as array of objects. This is the example that is discussed, that is class employee, char name 30. In this there are two data members and there are two member functions, like. And then we have created the array of object, that is this is an object of the class, that is manager, but that contains three values, that is 0, 1, 2. So this is an array of manager. So we can also create the array of objects. There is no foundation that object can be created only one. No, we can create multiple arrays, multiple objects, or multiple same object with the multiple instances. That is an array of objects. This is an example, and how we can access by simply using the this one, like manager I dot put data. So I can take the values from 0, 1, 2. That is from 0 to 2. It can take the value and it can access the, or it can be used to access the member functions like put data and the get data. So all the two variable that is used for the one object. This is name and age, that is used for the another object. Name and age, that is used for the another object, that is the manager 2. So this is the object array of objects. Like this is an example that we have discussed in the last class. In this there are two functions that is used. One is the get data, one is the put data, and one constant is declared, that is a size 2. Then uses the manager size, that is 3, and uses the for loop for creating the objects, for creating the array of objects, and it is going from 0 to 2. Why 0 to 2? Because the condition is I is less than 3, not equals to 3, it is less than 3. Then again there is a different variable, different constant that is used, like manager dot put data. So this is the way how we can access the, or how we can use the array of objects. Then we have discussed next topic, that is an object as in function argument. That is how the object can be used as in function argument. That is how we can pass the objects, or how we can pass the argument in the object, or how we can pass the object as a member function, or the functions of the member. So like any other data type, object may be used as a function argument. This can be done in two ways. There are two ways in this which we have, or we can use the function argument, or the object may also use as a function argument. What are the ways? First one is a copy of the entire object is passed to the function. So whenever a copy of the entire object is passed to a function, that is a scenario when the object is used as a function argument. Then only the address of the object is transferred to the function. That is only the object. Whenever there is a condition that only the object can be passed to a function, in that case also object is treated as a function argument. So there are two concepts, one is the pass by value, one is the pass by reference. Then this is the example that we have discussed in the last class, that is how to use the object as an argument, or how to access the object as an argument. Then we have discussed the important concept, that is the friend function. So what is a friend function? That is the one class is related to another class, so that the one class members can access the other class members. So that means we can access the private data, we can access the non-member function of the class with the use of a friend function, right? So this is the example that is given. There are two classes, one is a manager, one is a scientist, right? We would use the same function, that is the income tax function. So income tax can be paid by the manager as well as the scientist. So this same function can be used by multiple classes. So in this case it will be used as a friend function, so that most of the classes or the same function can be shared by multiple classes. In such scenario, C++ allows the function to maybe made friendly with both the classes, therefore allowing the functions to have access to the private data of these objects. Such a function need not be a member of any these classes. So there is no mandatory condition that this could be a member of the one of the class that is used or that is using as a friend function. No, there is no foundation. Any function can access it, but the condition is that the friend keyword is mentioned. This is an example that is used. So one is class ABC, then there are multiple private declaration, then there are multiple public declaration, and there is a friend function. What is the name of friend function? That is the XYZ, and the argument is also void, and the return type is also void. That is a friend function. So a friend function have the following characteristics that we have discussed, that it has more than one characteristics of why we are using the friend function. So it is used or it is not in the scope of the class in which it is declared as a friend. It is not in the scope of the class, so it is cannot be called using the object. It can be invoked like normal function. So these are the various examples, various characteristics that is used, and this is one of the example that we have discussed. First of all, there is a class that is known as a sample, and there are two private member, that is the two data members, and two member functions that is used, and this one function is used as a friend function. So this is void friend, that is a keyword, then there is a return type, that is float, and there is a function name, that is a mean. So mean is the name of the function, and the sample s means the argument will be passed as a s that is of sample type. Then this is the definition of the friend class. Then calling the function, that is s dot set value, that the set value will be used, and then calculating the mean. How to calculate the mean, or the mean function will be called, that is the friend function of a class ABC or class sample. Then we have discussed about how to use the friend function with two classes. So it's first of all mandatory to give the or forward declaration of the class, that is class ABC, by using the semicolon, that is a forward declaration. And the same friend function is used by both the classes. This is one function, this is one function. Both the functions are same and the classes are different. One is ABC and one is XYZ. Then there is the int main, then there are multiple objects that is used. One is small abc, then small abc dot set value, then small xyz, that is xyz dot set value, and then there is a max function that is used, that is xyz comma abc. So there are two values, or there are two arguments that is used. One is the xyz and one is the abc. Then swapping private data of classes, that is how to swap private data of the classes. This is the example that we have discussed, how to swap, that is how to interchange the values, that is the swapping of the values. Then the next part is what we have discussed is returning the object, that is how to return the objects, or till now we have covered what is an object, how to use them. Now object can also return the values, that is returning the objects. So this says a function cannot receive only the object as an argument, but can also return them. So there is also provision to return from the object. This is an example that is used how the object will be written. This is a complex class. This is a complex friend function, that is a complex sum, that is complex. Then use as a new object that is created. Then add the values of C3 and CY, C3 of X and C3 of Y. Then this is the main function calling the function, that is show A, show B, and the show C. Then we have discussed about the constant member function, that is how to use the constant member functions. So if a member function does not alter any data in a class, Then we declare it as a constant member function as follows. So whenever there is a demand that the same member function cannot be followed or cannot be declared or cannot be used by any other person, then it is called or then it is declared as a constant member function. So that is void mul int const, that is a constant. Then we have discussed about the pointers to member, that is how to use the pointers to the members. This is the example that we have discussed, that how to use the pointers in the functions or how to use the pointers in the classes. Then we have discussed about the local classes, that is how to use or what is a local class. So classes can be defined and used inside a function or the block. Such classes are known as the local classes. So that are defined and used inside a function, inside a block, that is known as the local class. For example, this is the function that is a void test int a. In this, int a is the prototype or the argument, and void is the return type, and test is the function name. Then uses the class, that is a local class that is used, that is a class student, because it is defined inside the block, inside the function. That's why it is known as the local class. This is what we have covered in the last class. Then covered about the summary, about some question answers also that is used. Now let's move to the next chapter, that is chapter number 6, that is constructor and the destructors. So now let's start with the chapter number 6, that is the constructors and the deconstructors, right? So in the last class we have finished with chapter number 5, that is the classes and the objects. Now I'm going to continue with the same module, but the chapter is different, that is the chapter number 6, that is the constructors and the destructors. Now whenever we create the object, it must be invoked or it must be assigned some value, that is done by the constructor. I'm repeating again, whenever we create the object, so sometimes there is a requirement that the object may take some value, it is by default take some value, so that is done by the constructor and destructor. So it is all based on the object, that is the constructor and the destructor. So we have seen so far a few examples of classes being implemented. In all such cases, we have used member functions such as put data and the set value to provide initial data to the private member functions. So in most of the cases what we have discussed is there are two functions that is commonly used. One is the put data, one is the set value, to provide the initial values to the private member variables. For example, a.input that invokes the member function input, which assigns the initial value to the data item of the object A. So object A is the object that is accessed with the member function, that is the input. So it can take every value. In the same way, get data, that is get data is a member function, and x is the name of the, or x is the basically name of object that is used to get the data. So whenever it is used, that is the x.get data, that passes the initial values as an argument to the function get data, where these values are assigned to the private values of the or private variables of the object x. All these function call statements are used with the appropriate objects. So all these objects or all these statements are used with appropriate objects that have already been created. These functions cannot be used to initialize a member variable at the time of creation of their objects. This is one of the important. So whatever function we have used, that cannot be used to initialize a member variable at the time of creation of the object. Suppose we have created the object, so there is no provision that the member variables at the time of creation is also used. So whenever I want to create the object at the time of dynamic time, that is known as the constructors. So providing the initial values as described above does not confirm the philosophy of the C++ language. We studied earlier that one of the aim of C++ is to create user-defined types such as class that behaves like a normal built-in class. This means that we should be able to initialize a class type variable, that is object, when it is declared much the time as initialization of an ordinary variable. So this is just ordinary variable or the ordinary object that is used. For example, int m equals to 20 and x equals to 0 or 5.75, that are valid initialization statement for the basic data types. Similarly, when a variable of built-in type goes out of scope, the compiler automatically destroys the variable. But it has not happened with the object, so we have so far studied. It is therefore clear that some more features of classes need to be explored, that is used. So C++ provides a special member function that is used. So there is a provision that the object cannot be created or there are multiple copies that is created. So there is a need to initialize, or there is a need or demand to initialize, how to initialize the object and how to deactivate or destroy them when the role is finished, so that the new object can be created. So C++ provides a member function or a special member function that is known as the constructor, which enables an object to initialize itself when an object is created, or which enables an object to initialize itself. So automatically the object will initialize itself when it is created. This is known as automatic initialization of object. It can also provide, or it also provides another member function known as the destructor, that destroys the object that is created or that is no longer required, that is no longer used. Next is constructors. Now, what is a constructor? So let's start with the constructor. So first topic is just an introduction, why there is a need for the constructor and destructor. So constructor is a special member function whose task is to initialize the object of its class. So this the main role of constructor is to initialize the object. That is initialization means that is the first value, that is the initialization, that is the, for example, manager is the object, that is manager equals to 0, that is initialize the object of its class. It is special because its name is same as the class name. Now there is no difference that this is the class name, this is the object name, because even though there is a more confusion, one is a constructor, one is a class. So the class name is the automatically the same, or the name of the class is same as the constructor name. The constructor is invoked whenever an object of self-associated or its whenever an object of its associated class is created. So the constructor is invoked or the constructor is used whenever the object of the associated class or whenever the object that is created by the class is created. It is known as constructor because it constructs the value of data members to the class. It construct means it changes the value of the data members to the class. That's why it is known as the constructor. So constructor is declared and defined as follows. So how it is declared and defined? This is the example how it is declared. That is a class integer. There are two variables, that is data member, sorry, not variable, m and the n. So there are two variable m comma n. Then there is a public, that is a public identifier that is used, and there are constructor defined. So sorry, declare, not define. It is declared over there, that is the integer void. Now this is a syntax, that is how to use the constructor or how to define the constructor, that is the basic structure or the we can say the layout of the constructor. So what is the layout? First of all, there is a name of the constructor, that is, first of all there is a class name. What is a class name? That is the integer. What is the constructor name? That is also the integer. Yes, alright. The constructor and the class name are same. Now assigning the value of m equals to 0 and n equals to 0. So this is the constructor definition whole, and this is the class that is used, that contains the two or that is used to define the constructor. So when a class contains a structure like the one defined above, it is guaranteed that an object created by the class will be initialized automatically. For example, the declaration, this one, that is whenever I declare any object with the use of constructor, it can create it on its own. So that is integer int1. It not only creates the object int1 of the type integer, but also initializes its data member, that is the m and the n to the 0. There is no need to write any statement to invoke the constructor function as we do in the normal member functions. If a normal member function is defined for 0 initialization, we would need to invoke this member function for each of the objects separately. This will be very convenient if there are large number of objects. constructor that accept though no parameter is known as the default constructor. So there are some constructors that cannot accept any values, cannot accept any data, that is known as the zero constructor. The default constructor is that is used is a, there is a scope resolution operator, and then there is a function. If no such constructor is defined, then the compiler supplies a default constructor. Therefore, a statement that is used, that is a capital A, that is the name of the class, if no constructor is defined, then the compiler supports the default constructor. So if I define the constructor, that is given the name, if no one has defined the constructor, then the compiler automatically takes the default constructor. Therefore, the statement such as this one will invoke the default constructor of the compiler to create the object A. So this is used as the default constructor that is used, that is created the object that is A. Now the constructor function has some special characteristics. Now what are the various characters or the various special characteristics that is given by the constructors? First point says they should be declared in the public section. So these are the various features, qualities that is provided by the constructor. So the constructor must be defined in the public section. It is not defined in the private section, but it must be defined in the public section. Next, they are invoked automatically when the objects are created. So there is no foundation that we have to initialize or we have to create the object. No, but it is created, or this can be invoked automatically when the class is created or when an object is created. Then they do not have any return type, not even void, and therefore they cannot return the values. There is no there do not have any return types, not even void. Hello, yeah, I'm so sorry for the delay. There is some technical problem due to some bandwidth, so I'm so sorry. So let's start with the various features that we have discussed about the constructor function. So what are the various features that is available with the constructors? The first feature is they should be declared in the public section. That is, the one of the condition is that it must be declared in the public section. So that is, the constructor must be declared or should be declared in the public section. That is, we cannot define the constructor within the private section. So it's not valid to declare the constructor in the private section. Then second point says they are invoked, that is the constructors are invoked automatically. So it's not manual way. No, it can be defined automatically when the object is created. So whenever the object is created, so it can be created automatically. There is no foundation that the object can be created and we have to initialize the constructor. No, that can be created once we have created the object. For example, the manager object we have created. So automatically the object will be created, or the constructors are invoked automatically, right? Next, the constructor do not have any return type, so there is no return type for the constructor, not even void, and therefore they do not have any or cannot contain return values. So there is no return type, no return values, no void, even void. So it can be used as a normal way, or it can be used as a normal part that cannot have a return type, cannot have a valid part, nothing else, right? Then next point says that cannot be or they cannot be inherited. So we have discussed in the first class what is inheritance, that is the same properties can be taken by the base class, that is the inheritance. So that cannot be inherited, that is we cannot access the member functions with the use of the constructor. So constructor cannot be inherited, that is the derived class can call the base class constructor, that cannot be possible. Then like other C++ function, they can have default argument. So like any other function that is used, they can have or they have a default arguments. Then next point says constructor cannot be virtual, that is they cannot be create virtual, that means virtual function cannot be defined in the constructors. then we cannot refer to their addresses. So there is no address part in the constructor, so we cannot refer to their addresses. Then next point says an object with the constructor or destructor cannot be used as a member of a union. So it cannot be used as a member of the union. Then they can make implicit calls to the operator, that is a new and the delete, when the memory allocation is required. So with the use of constructor, they can use, or with the use of constructor, the implicit calls to the operator is used, that is a new and the delete. Whenever there is a requirement of the memory, so new function is used. Whenever there is a deallocation of the memory, then delete function is used. So these are the various characteristics of the constructor. But these are the four important ones that can be used. First of all, they must be declared in the public section. They are invoked automatically. That is, the constructors are invoked automatically once the object is created. Then they do not have any return type, not even the void, and they do not return any values. Then they cannot be inherited. That is, we cannot inherit the properties of a derived class and the base class. Remember, when a constructor is declared for a class, initialization of the class object becomes mandatory. So whenever a constructor is declared for a class, its initialization becomes mandatory. Now, before going to the next category, that is a parameterized constructor. Now, today let's do some practical part so that your interest is also gained like in C. So let's do some practical part of basic one. What is a basic one? That is a C++ basic. So let's move to the first function. Let's move to this function, simple function of this one. That a simple header file is used and simply used for the printing part, right? Now so first of all, let's write. So let's write one function, that is hash include. First of all, in C we have used the stdi.h. In this I have to use the iostream.h, that is the input output stream.h. Right. Then uses the same conio.h, that is header file is same but the std is changed, that is conio.h, right. Then uses the same, in that we use the void main, in this we have to use the int main. So this is int main, then there are curly braces, then there is a cout that is used for the printing like a printf. So this is like a printf and this is the operator that is used, and the same double quotes is used, that is C++ is better than C, and everything is same like /n/t, everything is same. So C++ is better than C. Then there is a semicolon, that is it is printed as it is, and there is a return 0. Now there is a getch function is also used. This is cout. Then the getch function we may use, that is a getch. Now if I compile, the same keys are used, that is a alt F9, if I want to execute the same shortcut key, that is a control F9. So this is printed as it is, that is the C++ is better than C. So this will print as it is, that is the C++ is better than the C. So this is the first C++ program. In this we have to write, or we have written, that is the hash include stdio, or sorry, hash include iostream.h. That is the header file that is used over here is iostream. In C we have used the stdio.h and the conio.h, but in C++ it is used as the iostream.h. So what is the meaning of iostream? What is the full form? That is the input output stream. So it is also a header file that contains so many library functions that is used in the program. So whatever the library functions like cout, cin, every library function should be stored in this header file, that is the iostream.h. So iostream.h is the header file that contains various library functions that we generally use or commonly used in the program. So there are two header files, that is introduced or that is included. One is the iostream.h, one is the conio.h, right? Then there is the int main. Instead of void main, we have used, or we will use, or we try to use, so that the concepts are clear, program is clear, that is the int main. But in C we generally use the void main, but in this one we have to use the int main, right? Then in C language, for writing purpose, anything we have to write, that is printf is used, but in C++ cout is used for writing anything, that is cout. C++ is better than C. So in double quotes it is mentioned that is C++ is better than C, and the double quotes closed and there is a semicolon, right? Then there is a getch, that is a use, that is a getch means for printing on the screen, that is a getch. Then there is a return 0. So this will print as it is, that is a C++ is better than C. So simple, this line will be printed, nothing else. This is a program that shows some basics of C++. And one more difference is that whenever we save the file in C, it is saved with the extension .c. But in C++, it is saved with the extension .cpp. So there is a difference between the extensions also. In C, there is extension that is the .c. Any file name, for example, average.c. But in C++, it's have an extension that is .cpp. So if I want to save, everything is same. That means the turbo C or the compiler is same. But what's the difference? The difference is the syntax difference. Like header files are different, printf is different, but everything else everything is same. Why means the same writing purpose, same turbo C compiler, how to run the same commands, how to execute the run command, how to save, how to open, everything is same, but the interface or the syntax is different. So if I want to save, simply press the F2 keys. Simply press F2 key, and then for example I have written the basic, that is the basic of a C++, and the extension is CPP right now. Okay, if I save, this is overwriting existing file. Yeah, this is already available, but we have to enclose. Now if I want to see the output, the same shortcut key, that is the Alt plus F5. So this is the best example of, or the good example of, or the basic example of C++. Simply we have to print one line on the screen, nothing else. Now I will make little change to this program, only little change. That is again we have to use the cout for printing on one more line. That is, hello, how are you doing? This is a line I have printed. That is, hello, how are you doing? Right. Next, we cannot give the return 0, for example. Now let's see. There is a warning. What is the warning? That the function should return a value. So this cannot give an error, but this can give a warning that it must return a 0, it must return some value. So if I compile right now, this will compile, there is no error. Now if I use return 1 and if I compile, that gives also a success. That means there must be some return value, there must be some any return value, whether it may be a 8, whether it may be anything. but there should be some return value. If I write only return, now let's see what's the error. There is an error. What's the error? The function should return a value. That is, any value must be given. So we have given not any value. That means any type. So we have given the return 0. That is, the 0 will be returned. Right. So if I compile this code, again there is a success. If I execute this code, the same will be printed in a single line. That is, the C++ is better than C, then C++ is better than C, then hello, how are you doing? There are two C++ is better than C. Why? Because there is no clear screen, there is no /n, that is a backward /n. So there is no next line movement. Again, there is no clearing the screen. So that will be the same of as it is what we have discussed in the C language. That is, the multiple characters are same. So if I want to print in the next line, simply uses /n, that is a backward /n, for printing on the same line. If I compile this code, success. If I execute this code, this will print in the next line. That is, hello, how are you doing? But that will print 3 times. So I have to use the clear screen over here for clearing the screen. Right. If I compile this code, if I execute directly this code, there is a 2 lines, that is C++ is better than C, and in the next line, that is, hello, how are you doing? So this is the basics of the C++, that is how to use, and else everything is same like in C. While loop, if statement, for loop, that is every statement, every looping is same, but only the structure, but only the layout is changed, like cout, iostream, cin, int main. So the structure or the syntax is different, but everything else, everything is same, right? So now let's see one more program. Suppose I want to add 2 numbers within the C++. We have discussed in C also, but now we have to add 2 numbers in C++. So first of all, I have to write iostream.h, then hash include conio.h, then there is the int main, then there is a curly braces. So there are 3 variable that is declared the same way. The variable will be declared, that is int a, b, and sum. So 3 variables are declared. Then simply uses cout, that is simply takes the value or simply prints the value, that is the, or simply first of all it is predefined. For example, a equals to 10, then b equals to 20, for example, right? Now if I want to give some values, that is the sum equals to a plus b, that is here, that is sum equals to a plus b, for example. Then cout, this will use for printing, that is the value of c is value of sum is that is will printed in the sum, right? Now there is a get ch, there is a clear screen, there is a return 0, then there is a closing curly brace. So if I compile this code, there is one error, that is the statement missing. Now let's see where is the statement missing. It says there is a statement missing. Now let's see where is the statement missing. There is no statement missing, everything is perfect. If I execute, there is one error, that in the 8th line there is a statement missing. Okay, so there is no this one, there is no bracket over here. So if I compile, now the value of sum is nothing, it is not given any value, so value will be printed as it is, that is the value of sum is as it is, so this will not print. A is given the value as a 10, B is given the value as a 20. So there is no sum. Now let's see, there is a return 0. Then the value of sum is sum. That is a sum variable. A and B are the 20 and the 10 values. In the same way, we have to give the qualifier. If I use this one, now if I compile, then the value of sum is percentage %d. That is the value of sum is given as a percentage %d. Now let's see what's an error in this. There is a space. If I compile, this is percentage %d. So that will print as it is. So if I give in this one, if I use this one, now if I compile, there is one error, that is undefined symbol D. But logically this is correct. Now if I compile, this is print as it is. So there is no value that is given like in C. So I have to save with the addition, for example. Right, in C++ it is used. So if I now compile this code, there is again the percentage %d. Now let's see in the book what is the wrong with this. If I come to this book, there is a feature, there is an operator that is used. This is the IO stream. These are the various header files that we have discussed. There is the return statement, variable it is used like this one, then scene number. Then this will print as it is like this one. Okay, so there are two extraction operator that is used over here. That is sum equals to, there is no comma, but there are two extraction operators. So if I compile, now the value is 30. Now it has come in. So there is no requirement of the specifier also. Simply if I compile this code, so this is the value is 30. So there is no comma in between. There is an extraction operator that is used in between. So this is a program that shows how to add two values that are predefined. Predefined means we have already defined the A equals to 10 and the B equals to 20 over here. In this line we have already defined the variable, that is a 10 and the 20, and there is a new variable that is used, that is a sum. So sum is a variable that stores the output, and there are two predefined variables, that is the A and the B, that contains the value as a 10 and the 20. Then there is a clear screen. Then sum equals to A plus B, that is sum is a new variable that contains the A and the B addition, that is the 10 and the 20, that is the A equals to 10 and the B equals to 20. Then see out value of sum is, so this will print as it is. Why as it is? Because it is available in double quotes. This will print it in a as it is form. And then there is again the extraction operator that is used, and the new variable is used, and the sum variable is used for printing the output, that is the sum. And then there is a get ch for printing purpose or for printing the output, and then there is a return 0. So this is the program that shows how to add the values in C++, that is the addition, right? In the same way, we have made this program in a user defined form, that is getting the values from the user. In C we have used the scanf for getting the or reading the data into the memory, but in this we have to use the cin. So instead of scanf we have to use the cin, and instead of printf we have to use the cout. So this is a difference, that is a syntactical, it is different. So this is the addition, that is a predefined. Now I have made, for example, this as a user defined, that is a B, right? Now first of all, getting the values from the user, that is cout, enter the values of A and B. Right. That is getting the values of A and B. First of all, there are two extraction operators that is used. One at this one at this one, and then there is a semicolon. Then Cin, there is a two operators is used. Then Cin A, that is A. There are this operator will be used. Then A, then B. So there are two operators that is used. One is the A and the B. Then the sum will be used. If I compile this code, enter the value of A and B. Suppose I enter as 12 and the 12, or 12 and the 14. So the output is 26, because the addition of A is addition of 12 and the 14 is 26. So this is addition that is a user defined. In this we have to get the values from the user. So instead of printf, we have used the cout as it is for printing on the screen. That is the cout. Enter the values of A and B. Then there is a C. In the same line we get the two values, that is the A and B. That is in the same line also. But if I have to use in the next line, it is also used. There is no issues. So for example, if I have to use in the next line, this will print, this will use as it is, like this one. So now enter the value of A and B. For example 12, for example 23. The value is 35. This will print as it is. Now again, if I want to get the values in a different part, that is use the value in a different part, so this will also use like this one. Then cout, that will print in the next line. That is enter the value of B. In the same way, enter the value of A. If I compile this code, so that is the enter of value of A and the enter of value of B. For example 12, 12, that is the 24. So there are two values, or there are two parts that is used. So for perfect part, this will be covered over here. If I cut this one from here, and after this I have to paste it. Now it's okay. That is the C will be used. Now if I compile this code, enter the value of A. Now it is using line by line. Enter the value of B, for example 45. The output is 80. So 45 plus 35 is 80. So this is user defined. First of all, we have used the predefined. Now it is user defined. That is how to get the values from the user. That is A and B getting the values from the user. So this is the way how it is used in the C++. So this is fine according to you. So this is 80. Now let's take a break right now, then moves to the again the same topic, that is the constructor and the deconstructor, and then moves to the practical part again. So let's take a break right now. So come back from the break and let's continue the session again. So one query arises, what is the use of getCH function in this one, from Joseph? And the answer is for displaying the output. So whenever we do the execution, automatically the output will be displayed on the screen. That will be provided by the getCH. Otherwise we have to use the Alt F5 for displaying the output. That means if we have not given the we are not using the getCH, so we have to run manually the shortcut key, that is the Alt F5, for displaying the output. But if I want that the output will automatically display on the screen, that can be done by using the function, that is a getCH function, that is predefined function in the header file, that is the iostream.h. Alright Joseph, this is clear to you? Yes, Joseph, this is clear to you? Okay. Okay, ठीक. Okay, Joseph. Oh, okay, all right, Joseph. So let's continue with the session, that is a constructor. So we have covered what is a constructor. That is when we create the objects that are given some value, that are predefined values, that is known as the constructor. So they must be declared in the public section, and they are invoked automatically when the objects are created. So whenever any object are created, for example manager, so they are invoked, that is the constructors are invoked automatically. Then the constructor do not have any return type, do not have any return values, not even void, and therefore they cannot have any return values. And the constructor cannot be inherited, that is there is no inheritance part of the constructor also. Now there is a parameterized constructor, that is how to use the parameterized constructor. So the constructor integer defined above initializes the data members of all the objects to the 0. That is the constructor that is used, for example integer function that is defined above. So this is the constructor that is defined, that is the integer, this is the integer, that is the int1. So the constructor integer defined above initializes the data members of all the objects to the 0. However, in practice, it may be necessary to initialize the value or various data of elements of the different objects with different values when they are created. So it's in practice that it may be necessary to initialize the various data elements of different objects with different values when they are created. C++ permit us to achieve this objective by passing the arguments to the constructor function when the objects are created. That is, the objects are created whenever we create the new objects, or C++ permits to pass the values by the argument whenever the objects are created. The constructor can take arguments, or that can take the argument, that are known as parameterized constructor. So any constructor that can take the argument, that are known as parameterized constructors, right? So this is the constructor, that is integer constructor, may be modified to take the argument as shown below. So constructor integer can be used, or can be used to modify the object, or can be used or to take the argument that is known as the parameterized constructor. So there is a class integer, that is there is a class that is the integer. Then there are two variables that is used, one is the m and one is the n, right? Then there is a public declaration. So these are the two data members like m and n, and there is a public declaration, that is a publicly it is declared. Then there is an integer int x int y. So there are two parts in parentheses, two arguments are used, that is the int x and the int y. That is a parameterized constructor. Then this class will be closed with a semicolon. Then this is the definition of the constructor, that is the integer, that is the class name, this is the constructor name. There are two arguments, that is the x and the y, and the x is assigned to the m and the y is assigned to the n. So this is the parameterized constructor. So whenever we pass the arguments within the constructor, that is known as the parameterized constructor. So when the constructor has been parameterized, the object declaration statements such as integer1 may not work. We must pass the initial values as an argument to the constructor function when an object is created. So it's mandatory to pass the argument in the constructor in case of the parameterized constructor. How it can be done? By two ways: by calling the constructor explicitly, by calling the constructor implicitly. So there are two parts, either by calling the constructor implicitly or explicitly. So this is the way how the constructor will be called explicitly, that is the 0 and the 100, that is the integer int1, that is the name of the constructor that is used, that is equals to integer. So it is assigning the values of 0 and 100 to the int1. This statement creates an integer object int1 and passes the value 0 to and 100 to it. So it passes the value 0 and 100 to the integer 1 constructor. The second is a implicit call, that is simply use the 0 and 100 within the parenthesis. There is no equals to, there is no again the name of the constructor, no, but simply uses in the parenthesis, that is the 0 and the 100. This method, sometimes known as the shortened method, that is used very often as it is shorter, looks better and easy to implement. Why? Because there is an implicit call, there is a single parenthesis that is used, that is in simply, that is integer int1, that is the int1 is the constructor. In parenthesis simply give the values, that is 0, 1, 2, any n number of value that is used with the constructors. Remember, when the constructor is parameterized, we must provide appropriate argument for the constructor. This is a program that shows how to pass the argument to the constructor. So this is the example that is showing the constructors. Now this is the class with the constructor. So first of all, there is the IOStream, that is the IOStream.h, and there is a standard file, that is the using namespace std. Then there is a class integer. So integer is the name of the class, and there are two variables that is declared, that is the m and the n, that is used. That is two variables are used, that is the m and the n, and there is one a member function that is used, that is a public, that is the integer part. Then there are two data types, there are two arguments that is used, so that's why it is known as parameterized constructor. So this is the constructor declare. So there are two parts, that is the int and the int. Then there is a void display, that is a display function is used for displaying the output. It becomes the inline function that is defined in the public part only, that is the cout m equals to. So this will print as it is, and instead of comma we have to use the extraction operator. This is the extraction operator, and the value of m will be printed. In the same way n and the value of n will be printed. So this is the void display function for displaying the value of m and n, and this is the constructor declared. Now this is constructor defined, that is how to define the constructor. That is integer, int x, int y. So this is the class name, there is a scope resolution operator, there is a constructor name. So this is the class name, this is the constructor name, and there are two parts, one is the x, one is the y, that is the constructor defined. Then m equals to x, that is the x value will be assigned to the m. So whatever the x value, that is assigned to the m, and whatever the y value, that will be assigned to the n. And there is a closing of the this constructor. Then there is a int main, then integer even 0, 100. So this is the how the constructor will be called implicitly. So this is the implicit calling, that is the implicit constructor calling. And then this is the explicit constructor calling. So this is integer int1 0 100. So that means there are two values that will be passed, that will be assigned to the m and the n. First, in this the m value is 0 and the n value is 100. In this there is the explicit conversion, explicit constructor. This is integer int2, that is the name of the constructor is int2 right now. Then this is the constructor name, and there are two values, that is the 25 and the 75. So the m contains 25 and the n contains 75. So there are two values, that is the 25 and the 75. So there are two ways by which we can pass the value, by which we can take the argument, or constructor take the argument. One is the implicit way, one is the explicit way. By implicit simply uses the parenthesis, by explicit simply uses the equals to and give the constructor name, and then it will be used, or the values will be passed. For example, the first one is the implicit method and second one is the explicit method. Then cout, that is a cout will be used for displaying on the screen, that is object 1. Then int1 dot display, that is int1 is the name of the integer, name of the object that is used, that is the int1. Then dot, then display, that is the dot operator is used, and the display function is calling. So this will move the cursor to the display function, that is with the help of int1, that is the object 1, that is 0 and 100. The m will be printed as a 0 and the n will be printed as a 100. Then this is int2 dot display, that is the object 2, that is it will used as a 25 and the 75. Now the m value has a 75 and the n value has a m value has a 25 and the n value has a 75. Then there is a return 0 and there is a closing curly braces. So that is a int main. So this is int main. So first of all, there is an integer int1, that is 0 100, that is a implicit conversion. Then integer int2 is equal to integer 25 75, that is a explicit conversion constructor. Then object 1 will be displayed, that is a int1 dot display, that is with the help of the display function it will display the values of m and n, that is calling with the help of object 1. Then with the help of object 2 it will display the values, that will be the int2 dot display function. And then there is a return 0. So this is the int main, and this is the constructor defined, and this is the constructor declared. So these are the this is the example that shows the how constructor is used within the class within the C++. Now this is the output. For object 1, the m equals to 0, n equals to 100. For object 2, m equals to 25, n equals to 75. So this says the construction function or the constructor functions can also be defined as inline function. So whatever the constructor function that is used can be declared as an inline function. That is, we can define the constructor within the class also. That becomes the inline function. For example, this is the example of inline function. By declaring the data members, and in public part there is a inline constructor that is used, that is the integer int x int y, then m equals to x, y equals to n, that is the inline constructor. The parameters of a constructor can be of any type except that of the class to which it belongs. So except that of the type, except of the type that is used, it belongs to the class. This is class A, then there is a public AA, that is a parameter is used, that is the illegal part. There is no that the constructor name is also taken as the argument, that is not valid, that is illegal. However, a constructor can accept a reference to its own class as a parameter. That is, constructor can take a reference, can accept a reference to its own class as a parameter value. Therefore, the statement, this is the statement, then there is a class A, then public A ampersand, then there is a closing A and the semicolon, that is a valid. In such case, the constructor is known as the copy constructor, that is the same constructor name and the same uh, class name that is used, and the argument is also same, that is the A and the A, but the difference is that in this we have to pass the reference, and before this we have to pass the value. So a constructor can accept a reference to its own class as a parameter. Now, multiple constructor in a class, that is more than one constructor in only one class. So this I will be discussing in the next class. So let's move to the practical part again, so that your interest will gain in the C++ also. So let's move to the practical part. So first of all, hash include stdio.h, sorry, stdio, not stdio, that is iostream.h. I'm so sorry. Then hash include conio.h, then there is a int main, then for example, if I want to find the average of two numbers or average of three numbers, then I have to given three number, that is a, b and c, and there is a one more variable that is storing the output, that is avg, then cout, enter the value of a, then cin a, in the same way cout, enter the value of b, then C in B, then again C out, enter the value of C, then C in, then C, that is a C's value, right? These all three values are taken from the user and stored in the memory. Now find the average, that is equals to A plus B plus C and then divided by a 3. But this must be defined in a parenthesis, that is it must be defined in a parenthesis, that is A plus B plus C and then divided by 3. Then there is this is a division of 3, so that will be calculating the average. Now if I want to print the average, then simply print that C out, the average of numbers is the average of the average is, for example, then AVG, then simply use the return 0 and the then there is a get ch, or before this there is a get ch, right? And there is a clear screen also, that is CLR SCR. There is a closing curly braces. Now if I compile, there is one error, that is a statement missing. This is not colon, this is semicolon. Now if I compile this code, there is success. If I execute this code, first of all enter the value of A. For example, if I enter the 10, 20 and then 30, the average is 20. Why? Because 30 plus 20 is 50, 50 plus 10 is 60, and whenever 60 is divided by 3, that gives the output as a 20. So 60 by 3 is 20, right? So this is the way how it is used. So first of all, I have created two header files. One is the iostream.h, one is the conio.h, right? Then there is a main function, that is the main function will be started, and there are 4 variables that is declared. 3 are A, B, C and 1 is AVG, that is the average. Then getting the values from the user, that is a C out, enter the value of A, then stored in the memory by using the C in, then C out, enter the value of B, then store in the B by using the scanf, by using the C in the memory. Then in the same way, the enter the value of C, that is stored in the memory. In the same way, finding the average, that is the A plus B plus C divided by 3. So this is the average that is finding out. And then next is printing the average, that is print the whatever the value that is contained in the AVG, that is the average, that will print on the screen by using the cout function, that is the cout AVG. Then there is a get ch and there is a return 0 for returning the values, because we have used the int main, right? So this is the program that shows how to use the average. Now if I use, or if I want to save, then this will be saved like this one. This is average. This is already built, because in C we have built same programs with the use of this is average one, right? So we have made the average one. In C there is average, and this in this there is average one, right? Then this is the average. For example, in the same way, we have, or we will make the different programs like total interest, simple interest, the area of a triangle, quadratic equation, how to divide a number, how to swap the number, how to change the number. So we can change any value, we can use any values. So now let's move to the next program, that is the how to swap the values. That is, how to swap means how to interchange the values. So again the same hash include iostream.h, then hash include, that is a conio.h, then there is a int main, then there is a uh, curly braces that is used, that is the int main is used. Then this is the swapping, so declare the values as a equals to 10, b equals to 20, and there is a temp value or any value, that is a temp I have taken, right? For example, now prints the value of a and b, that is cout value of a is in the same way the value of b is this one, right? In the same way value of b is now after swapping. I have given the name after swapping. So first of all swap the value. This is after swapping, but before this swap the values. Now the value of a will be given to the temp, right? Now a becomes empty. Now b values will be assigned to the a. Now temp has a value and b is vacant, so b is given the value of a temp, right? So this is after swapping and this is before swapping. This is before, not after, right? The same will be printed, these two lines. This will be printed in this way, right? This one, right? Now uses the get ch, uses the return 0. There is a semicolon that is used, and there is a CLR SCA. Now if I compile this code, there is one error, that is a declaration terminated incorrectly. There is no semicolon after int main. Now if I compile, there are 4 errors. Undefined symbol before swapping. So if I want to write something, then I have to write in the cout form, that is cout. Then this is the right way to do something. In the same way, cout that is before swapping. This is not before, this is after swapping, I think. Yes. After swapping, then this is the right. Now if I compile this code, there is a success, there is no warning. Now before swapping, the value of a is 10, value of b is 20. After swapping, the value of b is 20 and the value of b is 10. So first of all uses the slash n in this one, so that this will be printed in the next line. Everything that is this one in the same way. This is the right way. So if I execute right now, this will print as it is. That is a value of A is 10, value of B is 20 before swapping, and after swapping, that is interchanging. Swapping means interchanging. After interchanging, the value of A becomes 20 and the value of B becomes 10. So that value will be interchanged, the value will be swapped together. So this is the right way how to print or how to swap the values with the new variable, that is a temp variable, right? So if I give slash n and again there is a slash n, so there is a 2 lines of gap. This will print as it is after swapping and the before swapping. So before swapping, there is a value of A, that is a 10 and the 20, that is the A and the B, and after swapping, the value of A and B is the 20 and the 10. Right. So this is before swapping and the after swapping. So this is the program. First of all, this is predefined values. There are two predefined values, that is the 10 and the 20. That is the A has a value 10 and the B has a value 20. And there is a temp, that is the temp variable is used, that is a more variable is used, so that the pass the values of the temp or pass the values of A and B in the temp for the timing. So that's a temporary area or the temporary value. So this will print, that is before swapping. So before swapping the value, what's the value of A? This will print it. Before swapping, what's the value of B? That will print it. And then swap the value. How swap the value? Uses the third variable, that is a temp, and store the value of A into the temp for the time being, that is a temporary. Now A becomes empty. Now store the value of B into A, because A is till now empty. Now B becomes empty, so store the value of temp, because temp contains the A by default, so store the value of temp into B. So that is swapping. Now A value get the B value, B value get the A value. That means the swapping of the values, interchanging of the values. Then this will be printed after swapping. This is the condition, that is the value of A is A and the value of B is B. This is after swapping. And then there is a get ch and there is a return 0. So this is the program to swap the values. Now, any doubts in these programs what we have covered in today's class? If there is any doubt, you can ask the doubt, you can clear the doubts. Anyone, any type of doubt in this? Then you can clear the doubts. Yeah, any doubts? Anyone? No? So, okay. If there is no doubt, then it's okay. I will finish this class right now and then move to the next topic. That is moves to the finishes this class and moves to next topic in the tomorrow's class. That is the multiple constructions in a class. So till now, okay, Larry. So till now we have covered single constructor in a class. Now we have used or we are going to use the multiple constructor in a class. So let's stop the class over here only. In the tomorrow's class I will be starting the next topic, that is the multiple constructor. In the same way we are doing the theory approach as well as the practical approach. One are theory, one are practical, so that your theoretical concepts are also clear, your practical concepts are also clear, and the class is not boring. Why? Because there is 1 hour practical, 1 hour theory. So thanks a lot everyone. That's all for today's session. In the tomorrow session will be I will be taking your next topic, that is the multiple constructors in a class. So thanks a lot everyone. Bye bye. If there is any doubts, you can ask the doubts from me.